Right, good afternoon. I'm hosting, just on the hoof really, because various things are happening for us, and we've just had a bit of discussion about that our computers are definitely playing up and phones are. So we'll see that as a good sign that we're actually getting noticed. Right, I'm going to start to just get us grounded with something from the Tao Te Ching. So it's actually from Wayne Dyer's Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And it's the first verse of the Tao Te Ching. And this version is, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The Tao is both named and nameless. As nameless, it is the origin of all things. As named, it is the mother of 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one sees only the manifestations, and the mystery itself is the doorway to all understanding. Now, I've read that a few times before, but even every time I read it, I get something more from it. And Wayne Dyer goes on to say later in the first chapter, the labelling process is what most of us were taught in school. We studied hard to be able to define things correctly in order to get what we called high grades. Most educational institutions insisted on identifying everything, leading to a tag that distinguished us as graduates with knowledge of specific categories. Yet we know, without anyone telling us, that there is no title, degree, or distinguishing label that truly defines us. In the same way that water is not the word water, any more than it is agua, Wasser, or H2O. Nothing in this universe is what it's named. In spite of our endless categorizations, each animal, flower, mineral, and human can never truly be described. In the same way, the Tao tells us that the name that can be named is not the eternal name. We must bask in the magnificence of what is seen and sensed, instead of always memorizing and categorizing. And I was watching something earlier today about the brain. It was recorded a year ago, and basically they were telling us, these very scientific people, that we still do not understand the brain. And so therefore we don't understand the human body at all. And we know that life is much more than that. So we've come here today, and inevitably we'll be using words. So each of those words is a label. But we're here to support each person in the best way that we can. So I'm going to go to Lynn now to see if there's anything she particularly would like to either discuss, tell us about, or cover in this session today. We've only got another quarter of an hour because Lynn does need to go then. Okay, so thank you, Lynn.
Hi, Julie. Yeah, thank you for hosting. I was going to ask you about your meeting with Andrew Bridgen. Was it? I think that snapped up on one of my notifications.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble with Telegram at the minute, massive trouble with my phone, and trouble with getting a new one because I don't seem to have any way of getting into my account. So, all fun. I'm sure it'll work out. But it just means instead of sitting down for 5 minutes and ordering a new phone, I've got to obviously take an hour or so to chat to some person by a bot and all this sort of thing to sort it out. So yeah, but I did get a flash up about meeting with Andrew Bridgen. I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. So how was that?
Right, I was really pleased to meet him because I've been sort of working in the background with someone else called Claire Hocking, actually, who I know I've had contact to share ideas with Andrew Bridgen in the background, but it was the first time I've actually physically met him myself. So I went down to Colville on Saturday, and it was lovely to actually meet that real person, and to know that I'm there to support him. He's an independent, so he's chosen, I didn't have a discussion with him as to why he's chosen to leave the reform as a label, but the named and the nameless. So we had a good discussion, and I know that he's a genuine person. He's been there even with the post office scandal over 14 years. He's been quite a key person in that. but it also shows us through even the work that he's been doing and the voicing that he's done over the last 3 years in Parliament that most people don't even get to hear. And I've had one person call him an anti-vax, so why am I bothering to associate with him? But actually, Andrew had 2 of the COVID vaccinations and had a significant adverse reaction to the second one. And so that helped him to realise the erroneousness of what has been happening from his own personal experience. And I know, and I'm glad I've met him, because I do feel he's very genuine and he's wanting to really help us to come through this and to get quality of life for people. And sadly, some people that are vaccine harmed have already died, so they're not going to be able to come back to life. Let's hope that the people that have got adverse effects are going to be supported as best we can. I don't know if by the NHS system, but as best we can in whatever ways we can to help them process whatever they've had injected into them and get their health back. I know my local hospital trust, if we call them that, have reintroduced face masks this week in all the clinical areas. I do gather that there's more people that aren't wearing them than were previously. So I'm hoping that that's a positive sign. And I have sent them a link to some research that's been done about the adverse effects of face masks and how basically the problems they cause are significant and we should not be having them in everyday life.
And actually increasing transmission. They don't do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and that's even the more staggering part, that they don't actually do that. And I know when I worked in a hardware shop for a bit of time, early days of the lockdown, and I was surprised at the people that were wearing the face mask. They were doing stuff that if they had got any infection, with what they were doing round the face mask and how uncomfortable it was and things for them, they were more likely to be getting any infection if it was in the mouth or nose and spreading it around.
Yeah, because obviously transmission with the hands is far more likely, and you do fiddle with it, and it does, and it absolutely traps everything around. And yeah, I mean, I really think they're awful things. I've tried wearing them sometimes for plaster, when I'm sanding plaster or something like that. I'm like, this is really horrible. I'm going to put them, I've got a mask. And I tried when I was working with chickens, lots of dust, and actually it was so hard I found it so hard to breathe with them that I preferred the dust. And I was just like, you know what, I will just take the hit, because I'm getting worse effects with the mask than the dust. And I
actually know of someone who was doing
I've tried them a few times for valid reasons with genuine large amounts of dust, haymaking, that sort of stuff. Well,
I know of someone who was doing some work at home to do with their loft and the loft insulation. And what they did was they had a proper mask on for that sort of situation. But then as soon as he came down from the loft, because he needed to breathe, he took it off. But the way he took it off, he ended up breathing in everything that in one go, instead of just having it, being kept out of his body more easily. And he actually did end up going into hospital. And I do wonder, because I've worked up in lofts before with insulation and things, the way they told me about it, I think it'd have been better if he'd just been more careful as he was doing things without a mask on, and then hopefully he wouldn't have ingested as much anyway. But yeah, so is that enough about the Andrew Bridgen situation? Because obviously we still don't know when the election's going to be.
What's he standing for, Julie? Is he standing as I think it was Reclaim rather than Reform that he's joined, wasn't it, with Lawrence Fox?
No, he's standing as an independent.
Yeah, but when he originally, there was a lot of fanfare about him joining Reclaim for Lawrence Fox's party, and as far as Reclaim is just Lawrence Fox, as far as I can see. it just seems to be him promote his media career with GB News being promoted. That's
Well,
what
I mean, what I know of GB News and one of the local MPs, Lee Anderson, he apparently is on there, and he's someone that I wouldn't want to be working with. Yeah.
So it's, I think, you know, a little while back, GB News was reined in again, wasn't it? I mean, it comes under Ofcom anyway. But I think did they sack Lawrence Fox for something?
Well, sadly, I mean, anyone that's being able to do anything,
You know, this was way after Reclaim was formed and way after Andrew Bridgen joined Reclaim. But I think there was a little bit of a trying to bring GB News back to heel, which I think it seems they've done. So yeah, and Andrew Bridgen, I thought, had joined Reclaim as part of an effort to boost his media career, because I thought he was lining up for a GB News slot, you know, which he might have been. I don't know. No judgment there. It didn't matter at the time. So I don't know. I just wonder what he was about, really. Is he standing for independent, not for mayor?
Yes, yeah, he's standing independent and for the local ward or local district, whatever it is. Yeah, and it was lovely to see Colville and how vibrant it is compared to a lot of other towns, including, I mean, Mansfield town centre is very desolate. I think there was only one shop that hadn't got anyone in, and it got for sale or to let sign up, but that was the only shop I saw, and everything else, people were busy, people were meeting each other, and it was lovely to even see a pit that's in Colville, which is where coal comes from, the name. And so it was lovely to see how busy it was, and that Andrew has been a significant person with helping to enable that to be kept like that over the years. So we just see where we go with it all. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Oh, what was the other thing I was going to mention today? Oh, it's gone. Oh, first new moon, isn't it? Wasn't it yesterday? We're probably still in that new moon energy, so great time to set intentions for all of us. So personal and for the whole movement, for the freedom movement and the love movement.
Yeah. So with my new diary, I've got a moonology diary, and there's each moon is setting your wishes for that month, and affirmation and things like that, and that's what we need to really focus on. And hopefully through our love movement, we're going to be getting those positive placebo messages into our daily lives and into everybody else's daily lives. And we need to remember that liberation, opportunity, vitality, empowerment, and live it as if we've achieved it, because we are. You know, this year is going to be significant in lots of different ways, and we need to keep focused on that sense of love. And yes, have awareness of what's happening, but we don't need to go into fear of it, because that doesn't help anyone.
It's an amazing year. I think in so many ways it's an amazing year. Apparently there's a lot of astrology going on. I'm sure it's always going on, but apparently there's lots of significant stuff going on. I was just trying to catch up a bit with Pam Gregory's stuff, and that's interesting. About half the world is going to the ballot box this year. It's enormous. I don't think it's a record number of elections around the world. So that's very interesting stuff. The US, of course, is the most notable. We're going to be having elections here that we're being kept in the dark about when and how and why. And plus I think there's just a feeling that there's a lot of there's a lot of people just becoming very aware of various things, not all at once. Some of them are becoming aware that the climate stuff might not be actually very reliable, and some are noticing the adverse reactions from the COVID.
Yeah, and on the adverse reactions, I even heard last Sunday of someone local who'd had yet another injection, and she's only a young woman. I would think probably in her 30s, and she'd had it 2 days before and then was hospitalised. I've not had any update on how she is, but I was quite staggered that she wasn't more aware to not have it done. But so people are still having them, and still reacting badly, which is the awful side of it. And now I know whenever I sort of go on YouTube and things like that, I'm starting to get shingles adverts coming up.
There's lots
They're
of that.
really pushing them.
They're
and
really pushing a shingles vaccine. I've been with my phone being a bit unusable instead of listening to audiobooks and things like I normally do, or the various things that come up on Telegram. I have switched onto the radio a little bit. Quite a lot of, oh, you can get your shingles vaccine at the, I'm straight to the off button, but that's been coming up a lot.
Yeah. And when you think of people
That's
that
like a COVID vaccine, of course, we know this. That
if you think of people that you've known that have had shingles, I've not known anyone die of it. And out of people that I have known that have had it, I think one person had next to no rash anyway, or pain or anything. I know of someone else who did, and they had more sort of pain when the rash wasn't there on their forehead than while it was there. It was almost when it was there, it had released it. And I do know someone else that had it on their torso. But I mean, I'm 64 this year, and for me to be able to only recall 3 people that have had, some effect of shingles, why do we really need to be putting an injection into anybody? Yeah.
Well, of course there's a lot more shingles now.
Yeah, and why is there? Because
we know that because, well, we know that's gone up with the uptake of the COVID jab, because that was the whole monkeypox thing, wasn't it? That we were trying to pass it off as monkeypox, but no, it's
so they were calling shingles monkeypox, were they?
They were trying, when it first came out, there was a big increase in this sort of the poxy type diseases, and they were trying to pass it off as monkeypox. That was going to be the next pandemic at the time. In fact, the WHO declared a pandemic while I was in Geneva at the time. It's quite interesting. My daughter got chickenpox in Geneva. I was like, oh, for goodness sake, I'm on the doorstep of the WHO here. and they've declared a monkeypox pandemic. And I told her just, lie low. She's got spots on her face, and just, don't do anything to get noticed. We're just walking through the airport. We'll do nothing to get noticed. I got to passport control, and there she was, huge nosebleed.
Oh no.
Oh dear. But it was a lovely bloke. Went and got us some tissues, no problem. And I just slunk to the back.
Well, that might have helped to distract them from any spot you've got.
Maybe. I can't believe you do this to me.
So I have heard of a child having hand, foot and mouth disease recently, but they weren't really poorly with it. There were a few.
No, there was quite a lot about when I was a kid. And slap cheek is another one that they seem to have a lot of these days, but I don't know whether we'd have even noticed that we had slap cheek,
Oh, I can remember that term, and I think we were quite amused by the term.
Exactly, and it seemed to be nothing more than a slightly red cheek that could have been teething, I would have thought.
Yeah.
It seemed to look exactly the same as teething to me. But anyway, I think there's an element of trying to invent, diseases so that we believe in the vulnerability of the body and to pathogens, and so it's a bit like cursing, isn't it? That and placebo effect. You put these ideas that these various diseases exist, and they're basically just the body healing to some toxin.
And we need that placebo effect with positive messages. We need to realise that people need to get out into the soil, and we need healthy soil and all that lot, don't we?
Yeah.
So, right, I'm very aware it's 1:30 now, so shall I finish recording, or is there anything else you wanted to say on the recording?
I think I just ask people to set beautiful intentions for the year. Beautiful intentions of, I think, people taking control of their own lives, people taking power. I'm seeing this quite a lot anyway, but I think it's going to be a big thing this year, and I think we can intend that to happen. That people, not aggressively, but just simply peacefully, just do their own thing, go their own way, all the practical things, grow their own food, educate their own children, look after their own health. And I think we just set the intention this year that we help facilitate that, and that we do offer alternatives at things like elections and public office. But really, it's about coming away from those systems altogether. And we just visualize and intend for the world to become a more organic, place with individuals finding their own power again and realizing it, and building their communities around them and looking after each other that way.
Yeah, so my wish and intention for this month is to stand up for genuine freedom and quality of life for all of nature. And my affirmation: I am free, I live each day peacefully with joy, bliss, and genuine compassion, given and received.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of the other bits I've got is look after myself sufficiently. I'm preparing for Chinese New Year, the dragon year of positive transformation.
Fabulous. And I think it's going to be fun as well. I think, it's been very heavy. It's felt like it felt very sludgy the last few years. It hasn't been much. I mean, I've had fun personally, but watching the world has not been fun. I think it will be this year. I'm feeling a lot more fun and energy behind it. I think it's going to be quite fast.
Yeah. And the more we can get to that within ourselves, the more we exude that out, don't we?
Totally.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I mean, it's not just about turning around to the authorities and going, who the hell are you? It's about, I'm just going to go have fun, go this way. We just enjoy it this way. And
another thing I've done is I've been connecting with someone called Charles Coves, that I think that's how we say it. Alan Chapman has got me connected with.
Hello, Alan.
Yeah. So Charles Coves, if that's how we say his name, is based in Australia, but works with people throughout the world. And it's a Tuesday night in the UK, 8 o'clock, I think it is, in the evening. And it's for about 2 hours, so I don't necessarily manage to stay awake for the whole of it. But there are other UK people on, as well as people from throughout the world, and it's lovely to hear how much support is happening for various different things in the world. And then I'm also part of the World Unity for Peace, that are very focused on hemp. And Charles Coves and people also mentioned hemp. So from what I can gather, we ought to actually be using hemp to filter our water as well as to build houses. Yeah.
Apparently it's very good building material. We are investing in hemp ourselves. I've got a building project that I've coming up, and have decided that I will invest in hemp, because then I get the expertise as well. So there's that's a technology that's coming up. It means it's going back to hemp and using lime, which is a lovely building material. So it's very insulating. It's very what would you say? Temperature regulating. And it feels peaceful, apparently, I'm told. People who live in it. I'm going to see a hemp house on Monday. That I've got that.
Oh, wonderful. Good.
Down Cambridge way. So I'm off down to Cambridge to see the hempcrete manufacturing process and the house, and see if we can sort of start an end-to-end production. The person who runs the company, he grew the hemp. You need a license in this country. Of course you do. He grew the hemp and then built his house from that. So although it's quite innovative, it's been done before, it is being done, and it's attracting investment as well. So
wonderful. Well,
So,
hopefully you'll be able to feed back to us next week and ongoing. And I know from when I was talking to my mum, so mum was 90 last June, and she was telling me how they used to have fields and fields of hemp growing.
yeah.
And, you know, it was just normal in this country.
Well, in this country,
Yeah,
it's
it,
used for fibre mostly. Whereas there are lots of different types. There's thousands of different types of hemp. Some of them are TCH, and in some cultures they use it more for the mind altering or vibration raising qualities. And for others, it's more for the oils, and in this country, it tends to be for the fibre.
mm.
So yeah, you can make clothes out of it, you can make paper out of it, you can build. It's a very, very wonderful material. And we can get all virtuous here. We tick the carbon neutral box because it's very carbon sequestering. Now, I personally don't think there's enough carbon in the world, and that the plants are on the plants are going to start struggling if we drop the carbon dioxide levels anymore. The plants need it, and so do we, to breathe. Actually, we need that even to just stimulate us. But hemp is very good at sequestering carbon dioxide. More importantly, as a plant material, it tends to be very good at sequestering, taking out of the environment other toxins. That's more important to me than carbon dioxide. I mean, you can always release carbon dioxide, can't we? we can always produce some of that. But hemp ticks all the boxes for the globalist agenda as well.
Well, I'm looking forward.
Game.
I'm looking forward to us having proper, buildings made out of hemp and clothing and things like that. Yeah, yeah,
It
wonderful.
will be carbon. I mean, bricks are very, very energy intensive to make, but hemp is not.
And it's the lack of insulation and things from the bricks that.
This is, hemp is fire retardant, so you've got
Yeah.
all sorts of boxes ticked. So hopefully, yeah, I think it's a very good material for the future. It makes a lot of sense to me. And
Right, well, I look forward to hearing more about that, because when the World Unity have some of their Zoom meetings, there's some that are very related to hempsorium, I think they call it. And because I've not known people locally that are actually doing stuff with it, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. So thank you. Right,
yes,
anything more before, because I know you need to go fairly soon.
should go really.
Right, shall I just stop the recording?
Okay, thanks everybody. Hi, Roger, I hope you're getting
Yeah.
hope you're on the road to recovery. I think you are, from what I've heard. But
Right, lovely. Okay, thanks everybody. Cheerio.